Mystic Hour special edition this week with former UFC fighter, recently retired, had a record of 20-8, fought for the UFC featherweight title, Mr. Ricardo "The Bully" Lamas. Welcome.
Nice. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. How does it feel so far being on retirement, Ricardo? I know it's fresh, but a week or two in, how does it feel?
Yeah, I don't know if it's fully hit me yet, but I feel good. I feel good with where I left my career, with how I left my career, and with what I did. So, I'm 38 years old. I'm not getting any younger, and I got to start thinking about my future, and just felt like it was the right time. So I feel good about it.
Were you thinking about the retirement pretty hard in the past year, or it's been like a couple of years of you thinking of it?
When I first started thinking of it, it's been a couple of years. Probably, I think the first time I mentioned it to my wife was around when I fought Jason Knight. So that was a couple of years back. And I said this at the post-fight press conference. Before the fight, it was the day of the fight. I was walking around that city with my wife. It was in California. And I was like, if I have a good performance here, if I want to go out on a good note, I might call it a career. I told her that before the fight. She kind of thought I was just being dramatic or whatever, but I did have a good performance. But the thing with this sport is that those victories are very addicting. So like after that, I was like, let's do one more, and it just kind of kept going like that. So I just been thinking about it for a few years now. And once that thought kind of gets in your head, you really got to start seriously thinking about it and knowing when it's your time.
Yeah. I know last year, unfortunately, you suffered that broken jaw, and I know that's a really big injury in the MMA community when somebody has a broken jaw. I remember Cub Swanson almost retiring over the broken jaw. Was that something, too, that kind of added on to it? It's like, you know what? I don't know how much I want to take these injuries anymore.
A little bit, but it was more important to me to come back from that injury and get back on that winning path. Important to myself, important as a life lesson to my kids to teach them, no matter how hard you fall, you get back up and you keep going. So that injury kind of pushed me in this camp to really come back hard.
Absolutely. Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Ricardo, thanks for the time. I just want, I'm Cuban American, such as yourself. And obviously after your last fight, you gave a profound message to the international and national audience about the ongoing oppression of the Cuban people. What was it exactly about, perhaps after this last fight, that made you want to speak out on it on such public level?
I've always been pretty outspoken about it. If you kind of listen to interviews throughout my career, I've always touched on it when it's come up, and kind of given my feelings on it. But as far as like doing it in a post-fight speech, it's something that I always wanted to do. It's something that I always had an intention of doing. It's something that for certain fights I planned on doing, but then maybe the outcome of the fight didn't allow me to get on the mic. Like I lost that fight kind of. So it's always been something that's been there and always something that I wanted to do before I retired. So going into this fight, knowing that it could be my last, I was like, I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. And just kind of went about it that way.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely glad that you brought it, and especially with the audience that we had that for that particular card. It really just from my perspective and from my emotions, it really hit hard, and I just want to thank you for that. I'm glad that you got it out there. I do appreciate it.
No, man, it's not a thing that I deserve or want a thanks for from anybody. It's something that every Cuban American, every Cuban should talk about and be vocal about. I honestly believe that, and coming from a family like mine, it was more of a duty of mine than just like doing it to get a thanks out of it. So
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, man, it was just something that needed to be said by me for not only for myself but for my family.
Yeah, it's certainly a borrowed pain from obviously the history that we know of our parents and things that they've gone through, and it's unfortunate that it's still ongoing. But I guess like you said, us Cuban Americans, we have to, obviously bring awareness about it, not be silent about it. So yeah, like you said, it's not so much for praise, but just necessarily just informing the people. So, but I guess speaking in regards to our heritage, I was curious because I know that you're also of a Mexican heritage. So I was wondering, early in your career, perhaps even during your career, did you ever have any trouble dieting, given the delicious foods that obviously the Cuban and Mexican cultures bring? And if so, what are some of your favorite dishes?
Yes, I had many problems. And in the beginning of my career, I used to fight at lightweight, and I had much
Hmm.
happier training camps because I was able to, from like Friday to Sunday, I could eat whatever I wanted, and then I just kind of clean it up during the week. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, that was hard. But as far, I mean, Mexican food, I'm a sucker for tacos. You know, the
Yeah.
traditional like down here, like Little Village in Chicago, those style
Mhm.
tacos. Cuban food, palomilla, arroz blanco, frijoles negros.
Palomilla, that's what I was gonna say,
Palomilla,
but
yeah, palomilla is a
palomilla,
go-to. Bistec
bistec
empanizado,
empanizado, there you go, man.
yeah, yeah. Um,
That's funny.
I also really like rabo encendido a lot. And
Nice.
another one besides Cuban and Mexican food that I love is Peruvian food. So
Yes,
if you never
definitely.
tried it, yeah, I love it. Love
Lomo,
Peruvian
No,
lomo
food.
man,
saltado.
it's delicious. I absolutely love Peru. My wife and I actually for our honeymoon we went to Peru, and I
Oh,
mean we
that's
had
awesome.
like where I live by we have a Peruvian spot that we like a lot. But I mean once you actually go to the culture and you really taste the authenticity of the food, it's something great. But yeah, that was something that was curious to me because I know that like you said, like the palomilla, the tacos, the everything like that, man, it's really hard to let go of. And then trying to stay in shape, and obviously even now at 38, you're ridiculously fit. So I was curious. I was like, man, this guy's definitely got some discipline.
Yeah, when I go, so I trained down in Miami. So when I would go down there, I'd allow that first weekend down to kind of cheat on my diet and go out and eat the Peruvian food and the Cuban food and stuff. But then after
Mhm.
that, I had to totally give it up.
Hey,
No,
now
definitely.
now you're retired and you can have whatever you like at this point. So
No,
enjoy that food.
now I gotta be even more careful because I'm not gonna be one of those retired fighters that blows up to like 300 pounds, man. Which can happen
Yeah,
to me
man.
quick if I'm not careful, you know.
I've
Yeah, I was
seen
gonna say don't let your guard down because it
No.
comes quick.
I've seen that
Comes
with a
quick.
couple of boxers. But Ricardo, so now that you're retired, how do you want Ricardo Lamas to be remembered in your career from WC and the UFC?
I want to be remembered like that last fight. You know, just always going out there, giving it my all, uh, getting hit with stuff, and always coming back. You know, just being a dog out there in that cage. That last fight, you know, after it all played out, the way it played out and getting fight of the night, it was like the perfect way to leave my career because that last round, you know, I kind of brought out that vintage Ricardo Lamas with the ground and pound and taking him down and just overwhelming the guys. So that was a perfect way to leave my career, a perfect performance, and that's how I want to be remembered.
Absolutely. And I don't think you get enough credit for this, but you put out some great videos of a lot of different comedy sketches that you've done. Now that you're retired, are we going into acting, stand up, a podcast, something different?
Something like that. You know, I think you'll see more. You'll see a lot more videos. I got some ideas with technique videos and stuff, and I'm going to put a little comedic twist on them. So keep an eye out for those. They'll be coming
Nice.
soon.
Absolutely. That Conor McGregor impression, oh my God, it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And I wish you guys, I wish you would have got that fight too around that time period, but I know things happen within the UFC. Nick, I know you had one more question for him.
Yeah, actually, Ricardo, I wanted to ask you, obviously, I was born here in Miami. I'm Hispanic, just like you. Being Hispanic in Miami, it's almost like second nature, given the abundance of us down here. I was curious, is it like that in Chicago as well? As far as, I mean, I know us Cubans are pretty much everywhere. I mean, I've even gone to Alaska, and there's a Cuban pretty much village over there. So, what's that like in Chicago? I know that obviously Cuban and Mexican populations are pretty large, but I wanted to get your
Yeah.
perspective on it.
So it's weird in Chicago. Like I'm here. My family came here. Well, my dad came here in the '60s. His older brother was living here in Chicago. And back then in the 60s, there was actually a pretty large Cuban community on the north side of Chicago where my dad went to because my uncle was here. But then they all got sick of the winters, and pretty much all of them moved down south to Miami. So a
Yeah.
lot of the Cubans left. There are still some left, but Chicago has a very big Mexican community on the on the south side.
Mhm.
So that's where my mom's family is from, and I
Mhm.
kind of grew up, you know, visiting that area and being around there. But growing up, my parents had a place in Miami, so Miami was kind of like a second home growing up to me. We'd go down there
Right.
for every vacation. I've spent Christmases down there. And then for like at least 2 months out of the summer, we'd be down there also. So I got a good taste of both worlds.
Nice. And I was going to ask, having spent time in both of them, do you have a preference, or do you love them equally the same? Or, what's your choice if you had one?
Uh, Staying in Chicago until after the holidays, and then jetting down to Miami and getting out of the sports would be my choice.
Once that winter hits, I guess
I'd love
that's,
to have the
yeah.
balance of both of them.
Yeah.
And big goal of mine is to get a place down there for my kids so that they can be a little closer to their Cuban side also, because like no matter how many Cubans we have up here in Chicago, it doesn't compare to like down in Miami. And I feel like
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's the closest they're going to get to Cuba until the regime is out of there. So.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then
Go ahead, Nick.
I'm sorry, Darnell. No, I also just wanted to ask Darnell talked about like what's next after now with retirement. I just wanted to get to know you more, the person rather than the fighter. What are some of your interests outside of MMA?
I'm a father now of 3 kids, and my oldest is 5. So a lot of my spare time goes to them, and I love spending it with them. But when I can, I got a Harley, and I love to get out on my Harley and go riding.
Nice.
I like to go shooting. Just kind of the typical stuff, man, and hanging out. I'm a big foodie too, so another big passion of mine. I love barbecuing and smoking ribs, smoking brisket. So I'm always trying to fool around with that and kind of get my barbecue game up.
You got your cajachina up there in Chicago or no?
I don't have one. No. But every summer, my dad is part of the Cuban Civic Committee, and they throw a Cuban festival to kind of raise money towards the cause. And they bring the cajachina out there every summer, and we roast the pig and all that. So.
Nice. Well, I'm sure if you do end up getting down here, you won't have any trouble finding one. So
no, not at all.
Yeah, not at all.
Make sure you get those dag chancletas when you're barbecuing, though. That's very important for retirement. So I'll send you a pair of those. Send me your address. I got you. We got plenty down here. But Ricardo, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Anything you would go back and change in your career? Or are you 100% satisfied? You got to fight for a title. You've had streaks of different fights that you won. Anything you would change going back?
I mean, yeah, I'd love to get some fights back, but I'm pretty content with what I did with my career and how it played out. And yeah, man, I guess I'd like some rematches if I were to keep fighting, but it is what it is, and I'm happy with what I did.
Absolutely, and we are proud to see everything that you've done in your career, and we appreciate the time. Thank you for sharing your story. Your story is an amazing thing, and I hope maybe one day someone else can tell it in some different facet, a documentary or something like that. And we hope you enjoy retirement, Ricardo.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
No problem.